Good evening, people. 8:44 p.m. and it's still 5/15/2017. I wanted to point this little thing out to you, if I could. See this tag here? What does that look like to you other than a TT? It's a double cross. You go to that county, count on being double crossed. Because that's what they had been all about. And I told you earlier today, before I spent a great deal of the day offline, I had gotten some help with some stuff around the house, so that's what I was off doing. Visiting and helping a little bit. So anyway, back to these three forced counselors or therapists or whatever you want to know them as. I think officially back then they were called counselors, but I don't guess it really matters. When you get stuff like that forced on you, it makes it difficult to process any sort of information or good that would come from those sessions, is what I think. You know, just like being force fed, you really don't want it. So I was hoping I'd have at least my puzzle to look at, but looks like it doesn't want to load. Because I hate to just look at a blank screen while I do this. Okay, the first one I covered a little bit this morning. Him and his wife had attended the same 12-step meetings that I did, well, and John did too, after, when was it? After about April of 85, because, no, in May 85, because I met him, his first meeting. We picked him up, Chum and I did, and took him to Marshall with us on a Saturday night meeting, and we rode in the car together, and I wouldn't hold his hand because I knew at that point he didn't have his divorce yet, and I made it clear that it just wasn't going to happen until I saw those divorce papers with my two eyes. So as soon as he got them signed, he showed me that very night. He said, see? So anyway, I wish this was dang low. That makes me so mad. Excuse me. Those two people I had attended a lot of meetings with, and I knew them fairly well. I wasn't great friends with either of them, but that's okay when they were trying to tell us that we needed marital therapy, which in my opinion we didn't. We didn't fight, we didn't argue. The only difficulty that I could think of later that other people might have viewed as a problem was when we walked a lot, when we didn't have a vehicle. We'd walk to the store, walk to meetings, walk to my mom's. He, a lot of the time, in his absent-mindedness, I guess you'd say, would get ahead of me, and I couldn't always keep up, and I have to say, hey. So he'd turn around and see he had stepped several in front of me without even realizing he'd done it. And so to cure that, we just would hold hands, and then that wouldn't happen. But when you got groceries, carrying a bunch of groceries or pushing a cart, sometimes that's a little awkward. So, but anyway, I thought maybe if someone had seen an actual problem and brought it up to someone, that might make the difference. Because there's another incident right after Bradley was born, and they didn't believe me at first anyway that I was pregnant. Therefore, I didn't come off my pills until the 4th month, when they finally decided that I was right and they were wrong. But they never come out and say those things, It's not like, oops, our bad, let us take you out to dinner and make this up to you, right? Never happens. Because I was right and they were wrong. And they had proven that way more than once. And after a while, you just get sick of these people when they don't believe you to begin with. But you get even sicker of them when you know you were right and they've got some kind of cob stuck where it shouldn't be, sideways. They have to have it surgically removed. So, but that other incident, I was trying very hard to behave and appease the powers that be in that freaking hospital. And for one thing, if you've ever been hospitalized, you realize across from the reception desk is not a place you want to be. And that's where they stuck me. And it was talk and giggle and phones all day and all night. And it was getting on my nerves. But I was still trying to behave. And, of course, who wants trouble with these F-toots? When I heard the announcement come over the public announcement system or intercom or whatever you want to call it, public announcement, that visiting hours were over for that night, and it was really cold when I was in the hospital with Bradley, I decided to avoid confrontation with these people that were loving to climb my cage and hang John's coat on the doorknob with his hat, because he had gone down just prior to visiting hours over to the cafeteria to get a coffee. I didn't get back in time before that. So I thought, okay, if he's in here after they said that, knowing my luck, they're going to come down on me like a ton of bricks again. They love to do that. So I hung it out there. I finished my cigarette in my chair. I shut the door, because we weren't supposed to smoke with the door shut. I don't know now. Anyway, and climbed in my bed. Well, he came back, but after they had got this foreign speaking sounding witch in there who smelled like a brewery, saying, I hear you're having troubles because of the hat and the coat on the door. No, I just put it out there because visiting hours were over and I didn't want them to make a scene. Well, for me not wanting them to make a scene, here she came to make a scene for them. They're always they're like the Al-Qaeda. Like dominoes. One falls and the other ones are right there. So she was sitting with her back to the door at the little table. And John arrived with his coffee. And he just stood in the door momentarily, having looked in and seen her. So he picked up on some of the conversation. And she was really grilling me. I sat there and told her she smelled like a brewery and she ought to go back to her cocktail party. I didn't really have any use for her. Just like that first counselor. They couldn't keep their own marriage together. WTF kind of counselors were they for anybody else? There should have been the shining example of perfection. But it wasn't. It was crumbling fast. Because of his affair with the secretary. Okay, so he had to walk home, and did. But of that, I'm not sure right this moment what came of it. I just grew to strongly dislike everyone there that had anything to do with the system at large. Because face it, they already had disbelieved me about my first son having something wrong with him that they, for some reason, overlooked or chose to ignore, calling me hysterical, getting me labeled nuts. Now here they come, you've got problems. Well, I'm not the one smelling like a brewery. How you like that one for your problem? You smell like a a brewery. Okay, so the second one was like, we didn't last long there either. I think I lasted one session for the first two and maybe two at the last one. But she was later reminded me of the same one that I had to go to once again appease the powers that be after they ordered the locks on our doors and then wanted me to do sessions. And so I took my mom with me after that. Things got so balled up with them. I think they did it just to keep the chaos spinning, to keep the crap pool twirling. Thinking nobody's ever going to believe her, whatever we do to her. She's just going to sound crazier and crazier as time goes on. Who would ever believe it? No one, because she makes things up and she's hysterical and she's nuts. And she's on these here pills. Okay? Even the chloropromazine they sent me home with my son on. See him here in my messenger? That's my son. His car, both of their vehicles actually, he said yesterday, on Mother's Day were needing repair, and they were going to come down until they found out about his car, which was the last of the two working vehicles. So he called, and we all talked on the phone at one point, and he messaged me. He didn't put anything on my wall. I wish he would have. He has in the past. But it was a sad day up to that. See, I told him right there, put something on my wall so I can have love. And we heart each other. Here's his heart here, and I send him little stuff all the time and cool links. Okay, so back to the third lady that I believe, she ended up getting sick, and that cut our sessions off. They just didn't make us go to any more. We'd already changed 3 times, and the next time I contacted her, they called and said she had taken ill and she wasn't going to be able to do any sessions, so that one just kind of rolled out of the way. Probably by default or something, right? But 3 in a row like that, we didn't fight, we didn't drink, we didn't gamble, we didn't have a lot of money, but with less money sometimes comes less problems. Even there for a while, before they messed with us the first time. Well, when Brad was born, we were going to church then. I wasn't in the choir and he wasn't. But that's okay, at least we attended. So now this is rolling up on 15 minutes, so I'll probably have to do a third one. Thanks for listening.